Okay, I think we'll get cracking with the webinar. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this introductory webinar to MapEagle GIS Report Writer, automated flood risk screening. My name's Patrick West. I work here at STM Environmental. We're based down in West London. It's a slightly overcast day. I hope it's better where you are. We've got a couple of people attending, just to say, from current users and prospective users of the software. So the aim of this webinar is to kind of cover bases for future users and also current users, in case you're not too familiar with the MapEagle system. So as I said, my name's Patrick. I'm an environmental consultant here at STM Environmental, and we provide a range of environmental consulting services. So again, this webinar is an introduction to MapEagle GIS Report Writer for automated flood risk screening. Hopefully you're all working in the capacity as a flood risk officer or flood risk in the flood risk team for a local authority, and hopefully we can show you how the automated report writing and screening tool can really make your workflows a bit easier and potentially more effective. So let's just get the next slide here. So sort of key to all of the reporting and screening is that, good information and good decisions, so in your workflows, require the right information at the right times. And hopefully, as I said, we can show that the system is going to, and the screening tool will make your jobs better, but also reduce errors that you might make when trying to search for environmental information on potential sites. So what is the report writing tool? Well, the MapEagle GIS Report Writer does a number of functions, but primarily it allows you to query the GIS layers that you have in your GIS system, both in terms of what is there, so what flood zones perhaps, but also any attributes associated with them if you have them stored on your system. And that's case in point when if you are using our GeoEnviron database system, which there are other webinars on that one, which is a database system where you can manage all your environmental assets and cases. So we have an integration from our database into our GIS report writing system, where you can query that information as well. So query your database for any relevant information that you so wish. And the system and the search system allows you also to create a customizable desktop report. So this report allows you to maybe screen for planning applications for flood risk, and potentially respond to environmental queries such as a pre-app advice. So you can use it for internal work and external work for potentially pre-app stuff. And obviously the whole point is to streamline and consolidate your workflows, reduce errors by doing things in an automated fashion, and obviously make things more efficient, so you don't have to spend your time clicking through all these different layers in your GIS to find out information, when the system and the search will do that for you. So what we're going to do in this webinar, who are we, STM? What is the report writer? So we'll actually go into it and maybe try and show you quickly how you would set that up and what the results look like for an automated report. Sorry, we've got in contaminated land here. We also provide it with contaminated land, but what we mean is an introduction to how you can use it for your flood risk workflows. So as I said, we're STM Environmental. We're a small independent consultants, and we work mainly with local authorities. We provide environmental software development and support for data management, risk management, and a lot of GIS work. We also provide private environmental consulting, so we do use our system for our own private work with, mainly for flood risk assessment work. So we're using it, and hopefully you'll use it in a similar fashion to how we do these things as well. We also provide lots of training and services, software support, so we can help you hopefully with all of your environmental needs. As I said, we have the GIS report writer, we have case management systems, we have database management systems, hopefully flood risk and contaminated land risk management tools, all part of our what's called GeoEnviron package. I know we've got a couple of users of that attending, so as I said, this is a webinar for both current and prospective users of that. and we work across the UK with a number of authorities, as well as most of Denmark and other authorities around the world. So we've got quite a lot of experience working with local authorities and suiting their requirements in terms of their environmental management. So I think we'll go to the GIS Reporter now. If I just exit the webinar, the PowerPoint, and we'll. Okay, so I've got Arc GIS open here. We cater the software caters for most GIS systems now, whether you're using MapInfo, QGIS, or GGP. I think we can do on that one, and we also provide our own through MapEx as well. So don't worry, whatever your GIS is, it's suitable for any sort of GIS system. Hopefully this is a similar sort of GIS setup that you might have in your authority with a site somewhere in a near a flood zone, or you want to work out whether it's near a flood zone and what other potential geo-environmental layers that you want to look for. So I've made up an example here. It's a site in Flintshire in North Wales, and we can see that this site is. This isn't a particular. I've just drawn a random polygon here, but there's a site that's near the River Dee, and it's potentially in a flood zone. We want to know what information is near that site, any historic records, perhaps. What does it benefit from defences? What are the defences? But potentially, as you can see on the left-hand side, I've got all of our layers freely available from Natural Resource Wales. But potentially you have your own layers specific to your local authority, whether that's assets that you have for your internal work, or it might be recorded flood events that you have that might not be available through government websites. So as I said, any sort of critical layers that you want to search for, you can have them loaded in. But obviously to search for all these layers manually might take some time. It also might have some associated error. You might miss things, and the idea behind the tool is to search through those layers for you and give you a report depending on the complexity of what the outcome is. So to hopefully streamline your advice. So again, what I said, if you look on our GIS, we have at the top here. I'll just right-click there. We have a MapEagle menu where the mouse is just hanging there. That's where we basically start our search from, and we can either search the layers and just have a look at what's around that site within a prescribed buffer distance, or we can go ahead and actually make a full report. So I'll show you an example of this site here. So say someone has submitted a planning application and you've been asked to flag any potential concerns in terms of the flood risk side of things, and you'd obviously have the layers that you want in your contents page of your GIS. So the report writer, the search tool starts by obviously searching those layers, and that is totally customizable. So you can choose what layers you want it to search for different projects. So you might have potentially a pre-application advice layer project where you want it to search a number of layers, or maybe just a couple of them to give that applicant some advice, or you might have an internal one where you want to go into more detail and search through a whole range of layers to give you a broader picture. So you can customize that, which I'll show you how to do shortly. So we begin by you can do a Polygon buffer search, or you can choose the shape of the feature that you want to search around. So normally you would draw, say, a polygon around a site, or you might have a pre-loaded site which is a particular shape file via your via your case management database if you're using that system. So if we click the Polygon buffer search, it gives me the option here to repeat the previous search, which is the one shown in the image. So we'll say, yeah, we'll repeat that search. I want to know what are the potential flood risks associated with that new site there. Someone might want to build a bungalow or redevelop that site. So yes, let's repeat that search, and we'll search within the buffer features. So we can search within a feature. If you've got a very large site, you might just want to look at what's in there, or you can search within a, as I said, prescribed buffer distance, and that search distance will can be customized depending on your layers. So for the example I'll show here is that it searches in quite a close proximity for things like any local flood risk or flood records and flood zones, but it might search for a wider radius for your flood defences, and which obviously, and any local rivers as well, which might be up to maybe a kilometre away. So we OK on that search, and what the system then does, it takes a quick second to get going, is it will search through all the layers on our contents pane on the left of the project here, and it will search through the ones that I've told it to search through. As you can see, it's popping up now. So it's quite quick on this one. I've got the data stored locally, so it's really rapid in that respect. And it's gone through the layers that I've asked for. So flood zones, any spatial defences, areas benefiting from flood defences, any records of flooding, and I've got some groundwater susceptibility here. Also, obviously, if you're not aware, in Wales they have a development advice map which characterises flood zones into defended and undefended zones 3 and 2. So we've got zone C1 and B there. If you're not familiar with that designation in Wales, so that was pretty quick, certainly quicker than I could have searched it for myself to find out that information. And so you might be happy with that, to find that there's you've got your site and you've found a number of different features, and it tells you obviously the distance, and so that might flag up your concerns, and you can quite quickly report back and say, no, that site is within 50 meters of this zone, or it's not within that distance. So as a very quick checking tool, that's quite effective for doing that. And I'll just reiterate, you can choose the layers that you want it to search. So in this instance, there isn't actually records of any bedrock or superficial geology, but you might have other geoenvironmental layers that you think are critical to your kind of initial assessment. So we could, as I said, we could stop there and just report back, or we might want to actually generate a report on that information to potentially submit to a colleague or to an applicant in terms of pre-app. So I'll click generate report. Yes, and this is quite a fun feature. So if you are potentially providing this as a pre-application advice, or you might have a particular internal format for how you do your reporting, or maybe you don't have it but you think that it might be a suitable way to progress, we have a system where you can obviously put your client's details and the property details on this option here. You see the icon there, the little G icon. That's the link back to our database system that we also provide, and so you can actually import references from that if it's for a particular site from your database. So I'll make up an example here and call it flood screen report 001. And we'll call the client details myself, and these details they populate within the report through bookmarks, so you can you can basically have the whole report that comes out automated. So I've just put our address here. We're based in West London, as I said. I don't know if you might know this area, and I'll make up a property address. It's somewhere in Connors Quay in northern Wales, so we'll call it, I don't know, 1D Side Road. I don't know if that's a street, but it doesn't really matter at this moment, and it's in Connors Quay, and that's Flintshire. So bear with me here. Make up a postcode, WW1 1AA. Okay, so and as I said, you can import these details from your database if you're using that to make that even quicker. There's obviously a cost at the top there if you are providing it for any pre-app or hope to maybe provide pre-app detailed advice or information for private clients. You can obviously put your cost in there, the date, and a client reference. So hopefully it covers all of your kind of internal nomenclature for how you report these things. So we click next, and then it's going to basically go and generate a report. So I think what I'll do is I'll show you the output report that it looks like first. So if I just get a screening report up, and hopefully you can see that. Okay, there we go. So this is one I did earlier in true Blue Peter fashion. I've made a flood screen report for this same site, and everything you can see there is has been automated, and so this probably took 10 minutes for the system to run in total, from finding the site to running the report. And obviously you can customize this, and I'll show you the template for that in a second. So on the first page on the left, it's got the details that we just entered of the client and the site. There's obviously could be your internal details if you want, table of contents, and some preamble about this screening report. So this might be your flood screen report, and you can customize what information you want to say there about flood zones and any limitations in data, etc. So then, if we can see that it gives a bit on the far right there. It gives some information about what the search was, and you can again customize all that information, the buffers that it searched, the grid reference of the site, which is useful, the area of the feature, and how many features that you found in total. And an option, if we just let the webinar scroll with me, because I'm slightly ahead. And it gives a site location map on the far left there of where that site was, and you can have all the layers that you're searching pop up at once if you like to show that. You might have a number of flood assets, your culverts, ditches, etc., for any internal work that you want to pop up and show on that screen there. And then on the middle page here, we get a summary data sheet. So it summarizes, if you want it to produce a summary, what layers it's found. And so that summary report up to that page 8 there, so the summary data sheet, that might be all that you want. You might just want to show all of the features and just a list there in the table, which we'll go back to the right in a second and show you that. But you can continue, and you can output a detailed report depending on the layers you want to search. So this is an example that I've made here. So it might search the bedrock geology. There's no records, unfortunately, in this part of Wales that I have in my GIS. But if you were doing it in England, I know that you've got most of the land covered there. And some more examples here. Flood history. So it's pick the layer there. There's a record, and it's within 50 meters. That might be a concern of yours, that it has flooded, and then the system will give you a map and the search information that it's found within that within those buffer radiuses. So if you look at the table, maybe I'll just make that a bit bigger actually, so you can see on the screen. I've got quite a large screen, so you might not be able to see the table here, but bear with me. So that's the map, and then it will give you the layer information. So it will output the attributes for that layer that the system has found. So it hasn't found any flooding on site, as you can see there, but it's found a feature off-site within 50 meters. For some reason it hasn't found one from 50 to 150, but we know that from the mapping that there is that. So that was a historic flooding, and then we've got some recorded flooding, and so you can choose what attributes are extracted from the search. So in this instance, we've got for a flood event, start date, end date, source, the cause, and a grid reference at that point. So, but you can choose what appears and what doesn't appear in your data table there. And I'll just quickly scroll through another example. Maybe you have some defences you want to look at, and again, that's a freely available layer that I've got from NRW. And so that's a good looking map to see where those defences are, and again an attribute table of all those defences within your search radius. So I've searched within 1,000 meters here, which is quite large, so we're going to have a lot of information about all those assets. So I won't go for everything, but as again, we've got a flood zone layer. Again, this is all customizable. So EA flood zones. If you're in Wales, we've got your dam zones, so zones C1, C2, and B, and their associated attribute information on the tables below. So and that's an all automated report. As I said, it takes maybe 10 minutes. It depends on how many layers you want to go through. So if we go back to the GIS report writer now, so that's the output that we want to get, and we will get from the report. I'll just quickly close that one. So we're back in our GIS now, and we did the search of the layers. We've asked to run a report, and the report runs in a template that you predefined. So that's how we got that one to look so nice, and we've got some really good examples in some authorities of some great looking templates and really helpful bits. So we can open an existing template, or we can create a new document. So we can click use previous template, and that shows you what your template is. So this is the template that I have with the relevant bookmarks to bookmark the client address and the reference for the search, etc. And the report populates that template at the end of the text, and then we'll provide a table of contents. So it's you can make this how you want to look. You can obviously put your logos and any internal sort of nomenclature and systems that you want in there. So that's what that template looks like. So we say, okay, I want to use that template. Hit OK. And the writer will now go through the layers that we asked it to search and report, and basically generate the report into that template. And it opens a new Word document, obviously using the previous template, which I've got up here. You should see on your screen now. And what it's doing is it's automatically filling in that report. I'm just going to have to ask to show you a map preview. So there's an option here. I'm just dragging it from my other screen. I've got two screens open. You can have a setting. You can see the preview for each map that you want to make sure it looks okay. I'm happy with that, so I won't show it again and let that continue. And I'll just open back up to my report writer, and you can see there it's just populating it automatically now, providing a summary, and it's automatically writing that summary. If I zoom in a little bit for you, so you can see that. And it's generating that summary we saw there, and that might be, as I said, this is the summary report, and it's going to finish that and ask me, do I want to continue to a detailed report? So you can see there. So the summary report's done, which is on the Word document there, and that was pretty quick, and it's just generated that report. As I said, you can have whatever information you want relevant to your authority or your requirements on that map and within that summary report. And it asks if I want to create a detailed report. So to make the example that I showed you there, I won't do that because that runs. I've got quite a few layers, and that's going to take sort of 10 minutes. We haven't got too much time left on the webinar, so I'll say no. I don't want to run a report for that one. And so that's and then it finishes the report. There's it's got a disclaimer. Bear with me. And the report's finished. So that's obviously our summary report. I haven't put a page break there, so there's a bit of an error because I clicked in the wrong place. But that was our summary report for that particular site. So you might have your internal screen as just to reiterate. If I had pressed continue to the detail report, it would have given the example that I showed. So the going through all the layers that you want. So we haven't got too much time left on the webinar, so I'll just show you what it looks like to customize those layers. So if you look back on our GIS here, we can go into the menu, the MapEagle menu, and there's a range of options in this. And if you are a current user, you're always free to give us a call, and we'll help you out with if you don't know how to customize certain features of your output report. And this is what it looks like to customize those layers. So obviously you have to have them loaded in your GIS map, and you can obviously set your base maps and all these various different style settings. But some of the key ones, and I think we'll start here, is you choose what layers you want it to look at. So this is a list of the layers that we have in the GIS, and you simply tick those layers that you want it to go through for the search report. So I've got a rivers layer, any geology, and we scroll down. I've got some flood zone layers that I want to look at, and my defences and any records of flooding, and potentially historic records if they haven't actually gotten the attributes associated with them. And then you can put those layers into groups if you want them to display on a map. So you might have flood records information, but you might have your own council records such as sewer records or surface water point records, and you want to display them all in one map. So you can do that if we select this select group function here, which is just there, and it pops up on the other window. And then you can name your group, and you can give it an alias name if you want, and you can import custom text, and those text files are saved in a particular folder. So I click that and drag that across here onto the map, onto the window, and there's some custom text for some geology that you can see there. So fully customizable for how you want your layers to look, and then you can search through those. So the other key thing, obviously that's in terms of what you want to see on the map, but that's probably more important for your internal work is you want to look at what the attributes are for those particular layers that you're searching. So if we follow next on this one, you get a list of the attributes that are associated with your layer. So for example, if we just apply next and go all the way to the recorded flood outlines, I think that's a bit more relevant in terms of what the attributes are. Oh, let's stick to the flood defences. Here's the attribute list of the flood defences that come with that shapefile layer, and there's a number of them, and you can tick which ones you want the report to output. So if I show you the example, if I go back to the flood screen report that I made, the example, so just pop this up here. So this was the final report, and if we go down to the flood defense section, as I mentioned shortly ago, there's our attribute table. And now this table, if you look at the headers on there, we had type of the asset, the protection, the description, the name, etc. Any conditions of that defense. That table was customized using, if we go back to the report writer, I customized that using this set of the attributes there, and you can choose what it outputs. And obviously you can then choose how far it searches, so you can set the buffer distance. So do you want to search within 20 meters, etc. So I'm stressing that point here because I want to make sure that you know that it's customizable depending on what assets or layers you're trying to find. So I've got as I said, I've got the flood defences searching with 100 meters, but if you've got, maybe you want to look at nearby culverts, you could select the 50 meters state radius as well, and so you can find out if you had a culvert layer or a flood assets layer for your particular authority. So and it takes you through that, and you can obviously label your, I haven't ticked those in these, but you can label your features as well if you want to put the ID. So for example, again, this is the recorded flood outlines layer here, and I've ticked the name of the flood event, the date, start date, end date, maybe who defined the boundary. Was it the Environment Agency? Was it local authority? And what was the source of the flooding and the cause? So you'll have your own assets probably, and attributes, sorry, for them. So you can really customize that how you want it. And if we finish that one, so that's how you set up your layers for that. And as I said, there are multiple options for how you want those features to be searched. So you can obviously here set the buffer distance that you want. You might want to search in 20 meters. You can have as many buffers as you want there. You could just have one. It could just be 50 meters, and you just want to look in the immediate vicinity of a particular point. So that's how you set up the data layers, and I've just got a couple minutes left, so I'll just show you quickly how you would search, how you would set the report text. So this is how you customize the report setting in terms of what the text comes out as, and you can actually give alias names. If you see this dialog in the middle here, I'll just click the mouse, drag it across from the other group. Here's the layers that I'm searching for, a kind of nice summary there, and you might have a coding for those, and you might want to assign them with an alias. So this might actually want to be dam. It might be dam zone C2. I might want to call it that instead, and you can do that. And you can also give aliases to all those attributes associated with that layer as well. So I know that a lot of the attributes have got quite a kind of unique classification to them, so you can set the aliases for your attributes as well. Okay, so that's a really brief overview of that one. So I think just to stress again, I'll show you one more example before we go of a quick search. So we'll zoom in and bear with it while it loads. We'll zoom into that site, and there, and we'll do another search. We can close that previous search, and we'll perform another one. So say actually you want to perform a search just down the road here. This is actually Victoria Road. You can draw your polygon. As I said, you might have a predefined site through your database, and if you can see where the cursor is there, I'm just going to draw that new site. I'm making this up, and double click and perform your buffer search. So it zooms in, which you'll see there. Search the buffer, and it will go through those layers that we just showed you on the database system, where the data output system, where you can pick them. So you'll see it shortly. It's about to run through. Bear with it, and there you go. It's just a bit of a delay between. Yeah, there we are. It's searched through all those layers, and it's giving me 32 features there. So it's really quick for having your initial search. And again, we can make a summary report from that. So just putting that information you can see there into a table. That might be all you want, and a map of a summary map of all your assets and geo-environmental layers. Or you can go ahead and you can generate your full report. So I'll say no to that one, and go back to the final report. The final report here, the flood screening, and hopefully you can get your reports to look like this. As I said, if you are a current user and future users, there's plenty of help here to try and get that to customize how you want it to look, and how you want, and make sure you get the information out of it. So if we go back to the PowerPoint, just to sort of wrap up. I know that was a bit brief. We only had 30 minutes there, so please contact us if you want any more information. And this is being recorded, so you can request a copy of this video if you want to show any colleagues, or for future reference. So the report writing tool and the screening tool is meant to make your searching process a lot more efficient and potentially more effective. So it's obviously quick. Hopefully I've showed that it can search through the layers that you want very, very quickly, and those are all customizable, which is the important part. So depending on what information you have and what's important for your search request, you can choose that, and you can choose all of your buffer distances and your basically everything that you want to do. You can customize that, but it's also has a potential to be used for internal and external documents and reporting. So you can do internal summary reporting, quick screen, or you can use it for potentially pre-app work. So providing people with an environmental search to give them a bit more information, and hopefully, I know that some authorities do charge for that sort of information, and that's obviously a very effective way of getting that report done quickly. So it's obviously more effective than searching through those layers, and it's potentially more reliable because there's no human error. So hopefully I haven't shown an example of how you can use that system for your assets that you have, but again, just to stress, if you have your own assets, and we do have a lot of users who have our database asset systems, so and they view that using GIS as well. You can query what assets you have. So final example, if you've got a team who are going to inspect some assets for a site, you can use the search tool to find out what you've got in that vicinity. Someone might be developing in an area, and you want to know how many culverts are here and where are they, and you can use the search tool to do that quicker and more effectively than doing it on your own. So I think that's all. We've gone over a little bit, so thank you for hanging in there. Again, if you want any more information, email us at info. My email was patrick@stmenvironmental.co.uk. So, and please visit our website if you want to find any of the webinars and help. And of course, give us a call if you've got any further queries about what the system can do for you, and if you'd like to request a recording of any of our webinars and this webinar, please do that. Okay. Thanks for attending, and hopefully we'll see you again for our next webinar. Maybe we'll go through some more specifics about how to set up certain customizable features. So if you are prospective clients or current users, that's worth attending to see how we can the system can fit into the exact kind of workflows that you want to be doing, and what information you want to get out of the report writing tool and the search tool as well. Okay, so thanks for listening, and I hope to speak to you in the future.